Do you love me, or are you just pretending? That's what she asked him, just minutes before walking down the aisle. The guests were seated. The cameras were rolling. And the man she was about to marry, a billionaire adored by millions, smiled and said all the right things. But what she did next left the world in shock. She didn't run. She didn't cry. She simply whispered. Forever should never begin with a lie. And drove the knife straight into his chest. But why did she do it? This is a dark truth that no one saw coming. Sparkle. Subscribe to the Hidden Republic for the full video and more interesting stories. Do you really love me, or are you just pretending? Do you really love me, Ryan? Alina's voice was soft but trembling, like a glass about to crack. She stood inches away from him in the bridal suite, still in her robe, curls pinned delicately for the ceremony. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears, searching his face for something real. Ryan, dressed in his designer tuxedo, looked confused for a second. Then he smiled, that same practiced smile that made tabloids call him America's most charming CEO. What kind of question is that, baby? Of course I love you. She didn't blink. Then why does it still feel like you're hiding something from me? Ryan walked over slowly, cupping her face with both hands. His touch was gentle, but there was a tension in his shoulders. Look at me, Alina. Today is our day. I've never been more certain about anything in my life. You're everything I've ever wanted. She held his gaze, as if she could see through the words. Through the tailored tux and the practiced tone. If I found out you were lying to me, about anything, I wouldn't forgive you, Ryan. Not today. He kissed her forehead. You won't have to forgive me. Because there's nothing to forgive. A single tear slid down her cheek. She wiped it away quickly and whispered. Good. Because today is forever, and forever should never begin with lies. He gave a short laugh, trying to lighten the mood. You're just nervous. Everyone gets a little weird before they get married. But Alina wasn't nervous. She was shattered. Because the night before, while Ryan slept beside her, she had already seen the message. Can't believe you're marrying her. You never change. And she wasn't weird. She was calculating. She was about to walk down the aisle. And she already knew it would end in blood. To the world, it was the wedding of the decade. Helicopters hovered above the luxury estate on the edge of the cliffs in Malibu. Paparazzi lined the gates. A-list guests arrived in designer suits and gowns. Champagne fountains sparkled under the California sun, and soft violin music floated through the air like a dream. And at the center of it all, was Alina. The girl from a modest neighborhood in Chicago, the girl who once painted portraits on sidewalks for tips, now stood beneath $1 million floral arch, just hours away from marrying Ryan Foster, the billionaire hotel heir who made headlines just by blinking. Everyone called her lucky. Cinderella with a paintbrush. The fairy tale people worshipped on social media. But what they didn't know was that just 3 nights ago, Alina was curled up on the bathroom floor, her phone in her hands, listening to a voice note over and over again, until the sound of it made her sick. Can't believe you're still going through with the wedding, babe. She really doesn't know, does she? Don't worry, your secret's safe, for now. Followed by the cruel sound of laughter. It was from a woman named Sienna. A name Ryan never mentioned. Alina had heard whispers before, hushed voices at events, anonymous comments online, but she always brushed them aside. Ryan had promised her everything. Said she was different. Said the past was the past. But after that voice note, the cracks in the fantasy began to widen. The next day, while Ryan was out finalizing seating charts and press statements, Alina did something she had never done in their 2 years together. She snooped. It took only minutes. His iPad was synced to his phone. He never logged out. And there it was, like a punch to the soul. A bank transfer labeled, Private Arrangement, Sienna v. A lease document for a high-rise apartment in downtown LA, paid in full by Ryan Foster Holdings. A deleted message that had been auto-backed up. Don't worry, marrying her doesn't change what we have. Just lay low till the media storm is over. Marrying her didn't change what they had. It confirmed it. Alina realized, with a sickening thud in her chest, she was not the main character in this story. She was the public relations stunt. The beautiful, sweet-smiled painter who made Ryan look like a reformed playboy. A distraction. A pretty little alibi. Her hands shook as she closed the iPad. Her vision blurred, not with tears, but with rage. For 2 years, she had poured her heart into him. Given up her gallery shows, cancelled opportunities, molded herself into the woman he wanted by his side. And all this time, she was just his cover. That night, she sat alone on the balcony of the estate, still in her rehearsal dinner dress, staring at the ocean. And she made a decision. She would walk down that aisle. She would smile for the cameras. She would say, "I do." But she would be the one writing the ending. Not him. Alina wanted to believe it was all some twisted misunderstanding. Maybe Ryan was being blackmailed. Maybe this Sienna woman was from a forgotten past, resurfacing just to cause trouble. Maybe, just maybe, she was overthinking it. But then came the morning that changed everything. The sun was barely up. Ryan was in the shower, humming to himself. The wedding was less than 24 hours away. And Alina, dressed in one of his white shirts, hands shaking, opened his encrypted folder on the iPad. The one he once told her was, just for work contracts. He always smiled when he said that. Too confidently. But this time, her gut told her to look. And what she found wasn't just betrayal, it was cruelty. There were dozens of photos. Ryan and Sienna, in Paris, in New York, in private villas in the Maldives. Secret trips taken while Alina was told he was away on business. Every timestamp matched moments in their relationship when he claimed to be building their future. There was even a photo of a necklace, a diamond pendant. The same one he had gifted Alina on her last birthday. Only, in the picture, it was around Sienna's neck. Alina's breath caught. Her lips parted in silent shock. Then, the final blow. A video. Taken 2 weeks ago. Ryan and Sienna in the LA apartment. He was shirtless. She was wearing Alina's brand new bridal robe, the one Alina had been saving for her honeymoon night. The woman laughed into the camera. "You think she'd still marry you if she knew? You're a monster, Ree." And Ryan's voice, casual, cold, replied. "She won't find out. And even if she does, it's too late. The press loves her. My board loves her. She's perfect on paper. After the wedding, I'll deal with it." Alina dropped the iPad. She backed away from the bed like it was on fire. Her entire body buzzed with adrenaline. Her throat went dry. Her heart didn't just break, it detonated. This wasn't just cheating. It was orchestration. A planned performance. And she was the lead actress in a role she never auditioned for. In that moment, something inside her snapped. Not violently, but quietly. The kind of snap you don't hear until it's too late. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She walked to the mirror, stared at her reflection, and smiled. So this is how the story ends. Then, she reached into the drawer and pulled out the little silver wedding knife Ryan had bought for the cake-cutting photo op, a beautiful, ornate blade with their initials engraved. "Not yet," she whispered to herself. "This story doesn't end with me being the fool. It ends with truth." And just like that, the bride-to-be began planning a finale no one would ever forget. The wedding day arrived with golden sunlight spilling over the California coast. A warm breeze danced through the lace-draped venue as camera crews set up at every angle, and guests in tuxedos and designer gowns sipped champagne under crystal chandeliers suspended from oak trees. Everyone said it looked like a movie. They had no idea how true that would become. Alina stood in front of the mirror, radiant in a custom silk gown that hugged her perfectly. Her eyes were calm. Too calm. Her smile, gentle, practiced, betrayed nothing. Her maid of honor told her she looked like a goddess. Her makeup artist called her the most peaceful bride she'd ever seen. But inside, Alina wasn't peaceful. She was counting down. Each brush stroke, every camera click, every compliment, it was all background noise to the silent storm raging in her mind. As she made her way down the aisle, arm in arm with her father, the crowd rose to their feet. Phones were held high. Smiles bloomed everywhere. Ryan stood at the altar, grinning, tears in his eyes. The perfect groom. Alina's heart didn't flutter. It burned. They exchanged vows. He spoke first, poetic, emotional, probably written by a PR assistant. Then it was her turn. She looked him in the eye and said, "I promise to love you, as deeply as I loved the man I thought you were. And to remember you, not as the man you showed the world, but as the one you hid from me." A pause. Just enough to make his smile falter. The audience chuckled softly, thinking it was a clever line. But it wasn't. When the ceremony ended, the newlyweds made their grand entrance into the reception tent. Applause thundered. Flower petals rained from the ceiling. A live jazz band played their song. 1,000 perfect details, building to one perfect lie. Then came the moment everyone waited for, the first toast. Ryan stood with his champagne flute, looking out at the sea of powerful friends and smiling faces. "To the woman who changed my life, who made me a better man. I never thought I'd find someone so pure, so full of light. Alina, you are my beginning, my future, and the only thing that ever made sense." The crowd erupted. He turned to her, kissed her cheek, whispered, "Your turn, love. Knock them dead." She lifted her glass. Slowly. Eyes shining. "To my husband. The man who taught me that fairy tales do exist. And that sometimes, the monster isn't at the end of the story. Sometimes, he's the one standing at the altar." Laughter froze in the air. Glasses stopped mid-clink. A beat of silence fell across the room. Ryan's brows furrowed. "Alina, what the hell are you doing?" And then, she reached into her bouquet. The knife. Small. Silver. Engraved with, R and A, forever. In a single swift motion, she plunged it into Ryan's chest. Gasps. Screams. Chaos. He staggered back, crashing into the wedding cake. Blood bloomed across his white tuxedo like spilled wine. Guests screamed. Security rushed forward. Phones flew into hands. Mothers shielded their children's eyes. Ryan collapsed, coughing, reaching for her. "Alina, why?" She knelt beside him, her expression unreadable. Her voice, barely above a whisper, pierced through the madness. "Because I loved you. And you made a joke of that love. You turned it into a performance. But this is real." She gently placed her wedding ring on his chest, right above the wound. "You said forever. I just kept the promise." Then she stood up, calm as ever, and raised her hands in surrender as the guards closed in. The video was everywhere within minutes. A shaky phone recording from one of the wedding guests, posted to TikTok, then Instagram, then every major news site in the country. The footage was blurred, chaotic, but unmistakable. The bride. The groom. The blood. She stabbed him, the caption read. Live, during the toast. Wedding tragedy in Malibu. Billionaire groom murdered by bride, reason will shock you. It dominated headlines for weeks. Talk shows dissected every frame. True crime channels turned it into a documentary before the trial even began. Some called her a monster. Others, a woman pushed to the edge. But no one, not even the prosecution, could deny one thing. She didn't run. Alina stood there that day, as calmly as she had stood at the altar. She was arrested without resistance, her wedding. Multiple women paid off and silenced. Allegations from ex-employees. Even shady financial ties to foreign accounts that had nothing to do with Alina, and everything to do with illegal money laundering. In court, Alina's defense team presented everything: the messages, the betrayal, the manipulation, the emotional abuse disguised as devotion. The jury listened. The public watched. And something strange happened. People began to sympathize. Not because what she did was right, but because they realized why she did it. She had been lied to. Used. Paraded around like a trophy. Gaslit for years while her entire life was being choreographed for someone else's gain. She wasn't just another angry woman, she was the proof of how far cruelty could be hidden behind charm. The trial ended in national shock. Guilty, but with psychological leniency. She wouldn't get life. Instead, Alina was sentenced to 18 years in a high-security psychiatric correctional facility, eligible for parole after 10. But the story didn't end there. Inside prison, Alina began painting again. Her art went viral. First online, then in museums. Every canvas told a silent story, of betrayal, vengeance, love twisted into violence. She never gave interviews. Never wrote a memoir. But one of her paintings, a quiet portrait of a broken wedding ring, dripping with red, was titled only. I said, I do. Just not to the lie. And to this day, no one really knows whether Alina planned it all from the start. Or whether something inside her simply snapped at the altar. But one thing is certain. That wedding was never meant to end with a kiss. It was meant to end with the truth. And in the most unforgettable way possible, it did. Subscribe to The Hidden Republic, where we uncover the darkest secrets behind the world's most shocking true stories. If you think you've heard it all, think again. One click, and you'll never look at love, power, or fame the same way again.